So tonight, the headliner's got to go in permanently. Are you ready? Alright, so it's time to start putting the headliner back in permanently. Now you just saw last week that I put the headliner together, I guess, cut it all out, and put it in here to make sure it fit. It's time to get it in permanently. So I've taken the seal back off. Now this is the old seal, and this just pulls right up over the edge. Now if you've already got a headliner in there and you haven't had to replace it and you're just going to do the seals itself, you can take clothespins like I have. You can see these are staggered around. This will actually hold the material in place. If the glue is not holding it, maybe it's an original headliner in that, but you can use clothespins just to hold it in place all around the edge until you get your new seal on. So I've got a new seal, and tonight I'm going to start by working on all these pieces. So I've got to check my drain tubes to make sure they're clear. I know a couple of them leak, so I need to make sure that they don't leak anymore, and I know it's right up here by the, I guess the nipple, the drain going into the body. I'm going to take those off, double check them, cut them to the right length, put them back, because that's always fun. Secondly, I need to put the headliner back in, and I need to put in some DEI boom mat on the back section of the roof here. It's kind of got some tinny sound. I want to get it to more of a thud, and that will definitely do it. So I'm going to use about a piece and a half of a 1 by 2 foot, and then a 1 by 1 foot to kind of span the length of, or the width of the car, and that'll go on. So once that's in, put the headliner back in, get it up over the flange, put a new seal on here. Now the glass itself that's missing because I'm standing in the way, I want to repaint the sunroof with some SEM trim black, and that'll get it cleaned up, get a little bit restored, so I need to work on that, and then put a new seal on the glass itself, because there's two that go on here, on the flange and then on the glass. So I need to do that one, and then put it all back in and get it done. So let's start with the drain tubes. Let's start with putting the headliner back in itself, getting this cleaned up, and then putting a new seal on. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is start working on these drain tubes. So this is the nipple right here that comes through the drain in. You can see I believe mine were done, replaced. So this is kind of a hard plastic tube. I doubt they came with hose clamps from the factory, so this has probably been changed. So I just took that off. You can see right here how pinched this is. If I showed you that, and I can tell you right there, these things are not going to drain. They will pinch off, and any water that got in here that was supposed to run down, and you can see here's the drain tube here. It goes down in the channel, comes down underneath, and then goes down into a hole in the body. So any of that, I can tell you right now, the water would not go there. It's going to pool up here, and eventually, because these are squeezed and all that stuff, these are going to leak, which is what happened to my car. So I need to go through and at least get all these out and see if I can get those replaced, or just see the condition of them. I know they're in bad shape. Okay, so I'm going to replace the drain tubes with some vinyl tubing. So this is the old, kind of the old hard crusty piece. You can see that's kinked here. That's where the sunroof wouldn't drain because of that. So I went to my local home improvement store and got some similar vinyl tubing. Now this is pretty common to what is used in today's manufactured automobiles. It's a 5/16 inner diameter and it's a 7/16 outer diameter. So this is actually going to be the same if I dropped it. So I just need to cut this to length, and I measured up each of these, and it's about 23 feet, linear feet, for all of these to match. So I bought 30 of this just in case, and it was only about 47 cents per linear foot. So I spent less than 15 bucks for the sunroof drain, and once I cut them to length to match this, I'm going to go a little bit longer, and if I have to recut them to fit, I'm okay with that. Alright, so once you've cut your drain lines where you want them, you've replaced them if you need to, you can move on to your sound deadener. Now the roof on this without any sound deadener sounds like this. Kind of a tinny sound, loose, just sounds terrible to me. So I'm going to put in 2 pieces or a piece and a half of the boom mat I got. Now to cover my whole coupe, I bought a 20-piece kit, and on my 92, I actually had 10 pieces left over from the 240SX project I did a few years ago. So this time I just bought a 20-piece kit. So on the headliner itself, I really don't have to add a lot. I'm going to add some here. And if you feel around the edge up here on the back and the sides, you know that the top roof skin here to the inner piece kind of has a lip to it. And if you feel in there, you'll notice that you can put your fingers in further than the roof skin. So I'm actually going to put a piece of this in beyond this edge, down in here in the back, almost till it touches. Now you can slide this in, you could put it up, slide it in till it touches, and then stick it there. And then if you want to, you can use your fingers. And this time I actually bought the actual official DEI roller. I normally have used my fingers and used a lot of pressure, but I thought, you know, why not use the actual tools that are made for this? So I bought the roller this time, and I'm going to use it to do a good job. So this time you just have to peel this off, the plastic backing, and then it's got a sticky piece here. Just remember, if you're wearing dirty gloves, don't touch the adhesive. The surface itself, I just cleaned up with a wire brush, which was, like this. Just a wire brush, just along there, and then I just used honestly, just some glass cleaner. That'll clean off the surface, get the dirt and grime off, and get a good sticky piece of this. So now, it's time to put this on. Alright, so all the drain tubes are now in. So first, before I put the tubes down in here and connect them to the, I guess, spout, if you want to call them that, I went through and made sure that they were all cleaned out. So I used some compressed air on it. I also used kind of a, I don't know, it must have been about 14 gauge wire. So that itself, just kind of scrub it out a little bit, blow it out, and then put these in. These back ones, just make sure they're not kinked like my other ones were kinked. Nobody likes that. And route it down. Now I did cut these about 6 inches too long. I knew that going in, but I wanted to make sure I had enough. So once I routed it in there, I just cut these off about 6 inches down. And you can gauge it down once you put it down through the hole, gauge it how it's going to be. The front ones themselves, pretty easy. Now I actually did these from the bottom up. So I pushed them up along the A-pillar all the way until they came up. And then you just kind of fish around in there with your finger and help put some tension on it this way, and it'll help guide it out. Once it's there, put it on. The 5/16 goes very easily on, and then I just put on the worm clamps that were on there just in case. The question is it going to leak? So I'm going to get some water before I'm done with this and pour some water in there after I've got it all done, just to make sure that it's not going to leak somewhere along the way, because nobody wants to do this again. From that point, it's time to put the headliner on, so I'm going to check with some water and then put the headliner back in for the last time. That's it, and then I got to put the seal on. Alright, so with the headliner in, you can also see now that I've got my clothespins up here. Now I'm just keeping the headliner material wrapped up over the flange, so I just pulled it up, pinned it on there, and that way it's going to stay stable to where I don't need to worry about it falling down and having to worry. The new headliner material itself, obviously, there's a slide here for the channel. And if you look at the profile, it's going to have a flange. You can kind of see it, but you probably can't. There's actually kind of a little finger, and it points one direction. So you want this finger to point out away from the sunroof. That way it helps block water away. So you can start, just pick an edge, however you want to do it. And this is going to be over long to your sunroof opening, but that is okay. All right. So now I am right-handed, so I'm going to work to my left and just start here in the middle and work my way around. So if your headliner material is a little long in a couple places, just keep a razor blade. You can trim it just to be just over the flange edge, and that way this will go over, and then if water gets in there, it's not going to soak up in the material itself and start soaking down into the car. So you can trim that. Once you get to a clothespin, you just tend to take it off. And the material will hold there. And then you're just going to move on to the next one. Alright, so once you've got all the seal all the way around, you're going to see that it's got a lot of extra. And that's okay. This can be repurposed for other things. you want to figure out where the seals are going to touch. And where it comes to, you want to measure just a little beyond that, probably about an 1/8 inch or so. And the reason is you want these things to be pressed together, so you don't want to cut it short and leave a gap. Just figure out where it is, cut about an 1/8 inch, longer than needed. You can use a pair of side cutters. Once you cut that, just dab a little bit of silicone. Now you can use black, which is preferred because it'll obviously match the rubber, or maybe just like I'm going to use some clear because that's what I have. Just dab it on each end. Put the ends together, then seat it down so that way they're seated and it all kind of pushes and smushes together. That way there's no potential for water grip. Once that's done, you can then take your sunroof and put it back together, put it on, and the job is done. Okay, so now with the sunroof assembly back installed, that's it. The job is done. So if you look inside, you'll see that you should have a nice tucked headliner that goes from the kind of the board up under the seal. Should be no puckers, continuous all the way around. And if you look at your seal to the glass, it should be a continuous seal all the way around. If you have any of those conditions, you're in great shape. If you have a pucker or anything else where it's going to have a leak or it's not continuously sealed all the way around the glass, now is the time to take the sunroof back out and fix it. If you have any questions on everything I did, and I'm going to show you next week how I refinish the sunroof glass itself and replace that seal. But that's it for this time. We'll see you next time.